Today we are joined by Geni and Maddie Aldridge from Environmental Stewardship with Eco Canada. And so we're going to be learning a lot about Eco Canada as well as what the eco industry and ecosystem looks like in Canada and all the amazing jobs that I personally didn't even know about until last year. To start off, oops, wrong way, sorry, that would be your last one. To start off, to do a land acknowledgement, we acknowledge that Mentorability operates on the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples in what is colonially called Alberta, and express gratitude and respect for the land we use. On our decolonial journey, we pledge to dismantle systematic racism within our organization and commit to advancing reconciliation and equitable partnerships as we continue to engage predominantly in Treaty 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10 territories in the Métis homeland. We recognize that acknowledgement of traditional land is a start, but what is being asked for by Indigenous communities is land back. Next slide. A little bit of housekeeping. We ask if you could please mute yourselves during the presentation, and that we will have time for questions and answers after the presentation. If you want, you can put your questions in the chat just so that you don't forget them, or we can also ask them for you. And then also, just so that you know, there is a closed captioning option in the tools for this event that you can use as well. Next slide. Just a little bit about mentorability. It's a national initiative that helps to develop short-term mentorship opportunities for people experiencing PAN disability to gain experience, industry knowledge, and network connections to take them to the next steps in their career. And it's very exciting. We've had over 1,000 facilitated mentorships across the country, and we work with service providers in supported employment as well as employer partners. Next slide. A couple benefits for employers: gaining knowledge, tools, and a supportive network; for job seekers, creating connections and learning about careers and jobs; and supported employment providers help to increase their client outcomes and strengthen employer relationships. With that being said, I'm going to stop my share there and turn the floor over to our guests. I'm going to make sure that you have, there we go. All right, I believe you should have sharing privileges now.
Thank you very much, Susanna. Is my screen up and running? Perfect. Thank you. Excellent. So let me tell you a little bit about Eco Canada before we jump into some more information about environmental jobs. Eco Canada has been around since 1992, and we are a workforce development organization. We're a not-for-profit, and we are focused on helping to make sure that Canada has an adequate supply of fully trained and capable environmental workers to meet our environmental goals and economic activity going forward. And we provide a lot of different types of supports for environmental workers across their careers, from some student supports through the accreditation program that we have. We accredit post-secondary educational institutions. We and the programs that focus on environmental work. We have a certification program for individuals who are beginning their career and those who are already well into their career as environmental professionals. We also have training programs, some of which are completely free. For example, we've got a great new AI 101 course on our website, which is available for free to anybody who's interested in learning more about AI. We are looking to provide insights to a variety of different decision makers about where there might be skills gaps, where we might need to increase the supply of workers, where there might be hiring challenges, those sorts of things through our research. And then we also do a number of different types of HR consulting for companies that are looking for support. A lot of environmental companies and organizations are very small, and they don't necessarily have an HR department to help them with their recruitment and retention efforts. So we step in where we're needed in those small organizations. So let's start with sort of an overview of what we mean by the environmental sector at EcoCanada. So EcoCanada considers environmental work to be very broad. We look at environmental work from the perspective of anybody, regardless of what occupation they're in, regardless of what industry they're in, regardless of who their employer is, if their work contributes to environmental protection, resource management, or sustainability in some way. We have two types of environmental workers that we have categorized within the environmental workforce. Some of those individuals are going to have very specific environmental knowledge and skills that are going to be needed in order for them to do their job. They can be in any industry. They can be in oil and gas, they can be in forestry, they can be in aquaculture, public service, the whole range of industries. But what brings them all together is that they're working towards sustainability and environmental protection with very specific environmental knowledge. They might know about the legislation, they might know about the technology, they might know about specific environmental processes and practices. Regardless, they would be considered core environmental workers. We also include anybody who works for an environmental goods and services company. So that could be individuals like accountants or administrative assistants or truck drivers or heavy equipment operators who are working for an organization that is maybe doing land reclamation, or they're involved in making sure that the new technology and the new innovative technology that they've developed is being sold, and they're doing business development, they're doing accounting, they're doing finance, all of those different types of jobs. So what that means is we really consider environmental work to be very broad, and there's a place for anybody who wants to contribute to the environment through their job somewhere in Canada. So that's the great thing about the environmental sector. We also categorize environmental work by specializations. So there are different types of environmental work that people can do, some of which, again, is very focused on direct environmental protection or natural resource management. Air quality monitors, people who are doing environmental health and safety work, people who are in the landfills doing waste auditing or recycling activities. Those sorts of individuals would be considered as part of our Sector A, the environmental protection sector. Then we have the resource management sector, which includes anybody who is working towards sustainable forestry, sustainable agriculture, sustainable aquaculture, sustainable fisheries, sustainable oil and gas, sustainable mining, the whole range of resource management that we can, because Canada is a big resource country. And so it's a big part of our industry. We also include individuals who are in conservation, doing fisheries and wildlife, that sort of thing. And then people who are working in renewable energy or energy efficiency also fall into that space. And then lastly, we have a group of individuals who aren't necessarily doing hands-on environmental work, but the work that they're doing is supporting those who do. And so these are individuals who might be working in the policy space. They might be working in communications and public awareness. They might be developing new technologies as research and development professionals. They can be doing education and training, or they could just be sustainability professionals doing greenhouse gas emissions accounting or developing sustainability plans for organizations. So again, there's a wide variety of different types of work. And in fact, what we find is a lot of environmental professionals work in or do work which falls into more than one sector. So they could be a specialist in energy, but also in waste management and also in policy and legislation. And so there's great combinations that people can put together if they've got an interest in that field. We've done a couple of surveys, national surveys, and they've provided us with some interesting information about the demographics of the environmental workforce. As I said, it's a very broad workforce with lots of different types of jobs and lots of different types of people. What we found is that the youth in the ages of 15 to 24 and the over 55 age groups tend to be a little bit less represented in the environmental sector than they are overall in the Canadian workforce. So there's a lot of the workforce in the environmental sector in that core 30 to 55 age range or 25 to 55 age range. We note that the environmental workforce often requires, or at least environmental work often requires some sort of training in order to get into the field. And a lot of that training tends to be from post-secondary institutions. It could be a certificate, it could be a trades degree, it could be a college diploma, it could be a bachelor's degree. But usually, a lot of these employers are going to be looking for that sort of background for environmental work, just so that they've got the technical knowledge in order to be able to understand the environmental intricacies and complexities that they're dealing with. When we take a look at the environmental workforce as a whole, most 50% of our workers in the environmental workforce have a bachelor's degree, 11% have a postgraduate degree, and then the rest have apprenticeship or trades or a college or CEGEP. Another 11% may just have secondary school, so high school diploma, which is, again, perfectly fine. There are opportunities for everyone in the environmental workforce. So when we look at the environmental workforce, we estimate that about 1 in every 15 workers in Canada is doing some sort of environmental work as part of their job. Now, they could be working for an environmental goods and services organization, or they could be doing specific environmental work for any industry. That's about 1.4 million workers. About 450,000 of those workers are core environmental workers. So they have the very specific environmental knowledge and skills. The rest fall into the supporting category. What we found when we surveyed environmental workers across Canada is that 19% of them acknowledged that they have some form of a disability as part of their characteristics, as part of their demographic characteristics. And so what we found then is that there are a lot of people out there in the environmental workforce who already fall into the category of persons experiencing disability. And so that's great because that means that there is opportunity for individuals from a wide variety of backgrounds to find work. Here's a look at what some of the job openings are projected to be over the next year or next 10 years, I'm sorry. So this is our green job forecast, and this was published on our website in March. And we have a total of 480,000 job openings predicted for environmental workers over the next 10 years. That's about 48,000 per year. That's a significant amount of hiring that's going to be done in the environmental sector. The amount of hiring depends on the size of the province that you live in. So those who are living in bigger provinces have more job openings. Smaller provinces tend to have fewer job openings that coincides with their population base. But there are job openings available all across the country. And to give you some flavor of, what some of these core environmental jobs are, we've got a kind of a word cloud here. We've got people who are working as biologists, people who are working as engineers, people who are working as policy analysts, consultants, waste management specialists, air quality specialists, a wide variety of different types of jobs available for environmental workers. And so I'm hoping that this video is going to come through with the audio as well. Let me know if it doesn't. This is one of the videos that we have on our YouTube website. And it's a day in the life of one of our environmental professionals.
Doesn't seem to be having the sound. Jamie, is it the setting if you go to share and there's like advanced setting and then it's like share your audio?
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you very much. So I'm going to share advanced settings. Okay. Computer audio share. All right, let's try that. Go
And
back
then I
to
think you just
Geni.
have to, yeah, and then have to share the screen again.
Okay. Now we're sharing the audio and now I have to share the screen again. Yeah. So screens. There we go. All right. So let me know if this is working now.
Okay.
No, there's no audio.
What do you think, Jamie?
It is in the settings when you're sharing. When you're
Okay.
sharing your screen, Jeannie, and then there should be a box off to the side that says share computer audio. So you've done them both individually. You just need to.
Okay. Got it. All right. So let's try that.
Aldridge, Sherlock, and Watson Scientific.
All right. Thank you for your help.
My name's Stephanie Watson. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a sole proprietor of a company called Sherlock and Watson Scientific. I have 4 learning disabilities. I have auxiliary memory disorder, a math disorder, a reading disorder, and a writing disorder. So the fact that I made it through the sciences is kind of astounding, but it wasn't without a lot of tears. So Sherlock and Watson Scientific, I started up after my master's was completed in environmental science as a way for me to continue my personal research into different areas of how businesses and people can interact with our environments in a socially, environmentally conscious way. Sometimes that's called triple bottom line management. It's also known by several other different terms, but I wanted to be able to establish a business that allowed me to be able to look into the gaps that I'm interested in and maybe other groups are not, and this allows me to do that. I've been in Saskatoon since the fall of 2020, and I chose to move back here because I did a couple of 8-month co-ops with Environment Canada and really enjoyed the people and the community and the River Valley. Eco Canada is the only professional group in Canada that focuses solely on the multidisciplinariness of environmental science. And we have all these other professional designations which definitely hold a space in our country, and I think it's wonderful, but being environmental science, we are so multidisciplinary that we don't just fall into this one little niche. And Eco Canada allows us to show professionalism and continue our professional upgrading by providing us the space to continue our multidisciplinary studies. All these changes from climate change, societal changes, we're having to adapt and change our businesses as things change. And with COVID just passing, and myself also getting a different full-time permanent position, but wanting my company to continue, I'm looking to move more into an online, where I have also found there's been this need for bringing more disability accessibility awareness into the environmental sciences. And so I'm doing awareness creation of programming right now for companies as well as individuals. And then the increase of gender equity outside of the binary as well, and other parts of the 2S LGBTQIA+ plus community. And that's where I'm focusing my business on currently, is to try and help the sciences move to be more acceptable and accessible to these groups of people, which I'm a part of. It's called the Prairie Lily. So there's a whole history behind that Prairie Lily and the Saskatoon River. It's a fun tour to do when you come to Saskatoon and stuff, or even if you live in Saskatoon, it's fun to go on. So. I guess I just kind of got tired of waiting for companies to become what I needed them to become, to be inclusive and accessible for people like me and for people in my circle and stuff. There's many of us who have disabilities or are part of different equity-seeking groups, and we're continuously left behind and not given the same opportunities or provided the access to those opportunities. So I was like, well, if they're not going to make it, I guess I'm going to create it.
So we have a number of, am I still sharing, or yes? I'm still sharing. Good. All right. We have a number of videos, day in the life videos like that on our YouTube website at on YouTube, but you can access them through eco.ca as well. So right now, that's my overview of sort of the environmental workforce for now. What I'm going to do is I want to throw this over to Maddie, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the work we've been doing at Eco Canada to help facilitate persons with disabilities and employers to connect and to find ways to ensure that the workforce in the environmental sector is as inclusive as possible. So Maddie, I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks, Jenny. Through interviewing people like Stephanie in the Day in the Life videos, we as an organization have become a lot more aware of how much extra effort is needed to encourage and sustain diversity, not just in the environmental sector, but as a society. But to this end, we recently completed a new project partnered with the Canadian Association for Supported Employment, CASE, which was a big research project. Some of the outcomes of that project showed us opportunities in the environmental sector may be variable depending on education and disability or ability, but support organizations can help bridge this gap and help job seekers with disabilities shine so that employers can see their value and are excited to work with people with disabilities as well. Eco Canada is newer to this space, but we have plans to expand our capabilities and support the community of disabled professionals in the environmental sector, as well as to help support organizations improve their capacity to help people become involved in the environmental sector and develop more targeted resources to that end as well. For now, anyone who would like assistance connecting with support organizations or reading a background on accessibility in the environmental sector can access our resources. So these are some of the outputs that we had with the project we completed with CASE. There's 2 directories, one targeted towards individuals with disabilities seeking employment, and the other one targeted towards environmental employers. Both speakers or both directories will they have a lot of information that's targeted towards the type of services that those organizations provide. And so there will be things specifically there, in a way that will benefit you, hopefully. And then our research report as well, Breaking Barriers, Advancing Inclusive Employment for People with Disabilities in Canada's Green Economy, is kind of an overview for where it's at currently, where are the opportunities and where is it going, and how can we grow the opportunities that are available. So if you've heard any of this and are excited or interested to get involved in doing environmental work yourself, there's 3 steps that you can take to gain more experience and knowledge that most employers look for all across the environmental sector, regardless of what job specifically. The first one is to develop essential skills. This includes things like technical writing, project management, and communication. There will be additional skills that are essential for success in different types of positions, but some, like those listed previously, will help build a strong foundation of transferable skills. 2, familiarize with environmental concepts, theories, and laws. Become familiar with concepts and issues behind ideas such as net zero, climate change, biodiversity loss, and the current legal and regulatory landscape in Canada. And then 3 is get involved and begin to get experience in the environmental sector. Volunteer work is a great way to accomplish this if you don't have any previous employment experience. Volunteer work is perfect and a good way to dip your toes in and see if you like it. These are some courses that Eco Canada offers that may help build a foundation for people wanting to get into the environmental sector. We have a technical writing essentials course, which uses practical exercises, resources, and templates to prepare you to convey a clear, concise message tailored to your audience for your next technical proposal or report. Project management key concepts, which offers a real-life project scenario that uses practical exercises, resources, and templates to prepare learners for the successful leadership and execution of their next project. There's communication essentials, fundamentals of environmental consulting, which will help people learn about the role as a consultant, practice key skills that they will need with success in that role, and how to stay safe in the process. And this course is designed for professionals with little or no experience working in a consulting environment. And then the last one in our essential skills category is navigating Canadian environmental law. Developed by Canadian environmental experts, this course is designed to give you a solid foundation in key public and private law, as well as an understanding of legal concepts that will help you and your client mitigate risks. And this is a quote from our report. But people with disabilities represent an underutilized talent pool that can bring dedication, loyalty, and stability to help address the environmental sector's urgent workforce needs. Basically, environmental sector needs workers. We would love to see more people with disabilities doing jobs in the environmental sector that they're passionate about and excited by. So really, there's a place for anyone who's interested, and Eco Canada is here to help people find that. Thanks for your time, and we'll take questions too if anyone's interested. The QR code at the bottom will direct to our webpage that has all of our reports and resources about accessibility.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Maddie and Jenny. That was really informative, and really appreciate the video and the insights and the research that you've done. Would love to open the floor up to people who have any questions for Jenny and Maddie. And like I said, I have been a teacher, so I give uncomfortable space. Oh, looks like we have something in the chat. Great question. Is there a space for IT professionals who do not have environmental training or training?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes, absolutely. More and more of the work that's being done in the environmental monitoring space is being done with more advanced technology, with drones, with satellite imagery, with a wide variety of different types of technical instruments. All of that requires data savvy and being able to work with big data. And of course, big data means you have data systems. So you have IT professionals on hand to make sure that those data systems are operating correctly. So yes, as a support staff, more and more organizations are looking for IT professionals to help them out, whether they are well versed in the environment or not is not really as much of an issue. Usually they can be trained if there is some environmental knowledge that they have to have.
Wonderful. If people want to know more about what that could look like, would it be possible for them to contact you, or is there a part of the website that goes over different types of IT roles within organizations?
Oh, I think the best thing would be to reach out to me. Anybody who's on the call can reach out to me at gpeters@eco.ca, and I'm happy to respond to any questions.
That's wonderful. We'll definitely put that in the notes. Oh, Jamie's already got it there in our chat. That's amazing. Thank you. The next question, what would you say is one of the major barriers to workers with disabilities in the sector, and how is that being overcome?
Well, I think there are two primary barriers that I think that are being faced by persons with disabilities who want to work in the sector. One is that employers are not particularly aware in the environmental sector about the supports that are available and the capabilities of individuals with experiencing disability. It's often the case that they've never really thought about it before, and they're not aware that there are ways for them to very easily accommodate for special needs, for special equipment, special technology, job coaching, that sort of thing. So it's really an awareness issue, and that's part of what Eco Canada has been doing with our project is trying to get the word out there that we have this great pool of workers that we haven't been tapping into because we've got maybe a preconception that the barriers that the supports are going to be very expensive and that it's going to be difficult to accommodate. So that's one of the barriers. I think the other challenge is that individuals with disabilities are not necessarily being directed to environmental roles. They're not seeing those as opportunities to work. I know some of the jobs that we talk about are field type work, but a lot of the jobs are office jobs that are working with technology that's easily adaptable to individuals with disabilities. We've got environmental professionals who have hearing disabilities, who have sight disabilities, who have movement disabilities, and they're working very productively in the environmental sector. So it's just sometimes the challenge is convincing the employer that it's not going to be a burden. And that's where I think Eco Canada and Mentorability can come in as organizations to help bridge that gap.
Mhm. That's wonderful. Thank you for that, Jenny. Do you want to add anything, Jamie, or have any questions? Feel free to jump in at any time.
I'm
Um,
actually a little distracted looking at the Eco Canada website right now because in their careers section, you folks actually have like a explore environmental career profiles section, which is just really cool. And I'm going to link it in the chat as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, I saw that
Yeah.
the other day. It looks so good.
Thank
Um,
you.
and if Teresa, did that answer your question, or did you want any more clarification on that at all? Nope, seems to be okay. Perfect. That's wonderful. All right. Next part of the question that's come up is, may I ask if there's any possibility of environmental design or accessibility parts?
Environment design, that's a good question. Well, I think that this is one of those areas where, again, people may just not have made the connection yet. And so I think when professionals think in terms of environmental design, they might be thinking in terms of the climate change, emissions reduction, energy efficiency, that sort of thing. But of course, we know that the building structure has a lot to do with the environment inside as well as outside. And we want to make sure that everybody who is inside that building is comfortable and able to work well. So, I think that there are opportunities. I'd love to talk more to whoever asked the question and find out what they're interested in.
Hmm. Chloe, did you want to speak to anything more specifically around that question at the moment?
Oh yes, what I mean was like environment design is like creating design for people with disabilities in more sustainable way.
Mm-hmm.
And then like accessibility is also for just ultimately creating sustainable like ecosystem. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. It's
So
like a so more like a learning design, can be program design. Yeah.
Mm.
you're looking for an opportunity in that particular space?
Oh yeah, I'm generally interested in design sector, and then design is not only visuals, it's also like people's experience, or it can be like environment itself. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think based on my discussions with individuals who are in the sustainable building field, they would be very happy to have discussions with you to find out more about what your interests are and what thoughts you might have that could help influence their designs. So yeah, if you want to connect with me, we'll see if we can put you in touch with a few professionals that you might want to be able to chat with.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. I'm so, yeah, it's an honor. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
You're very welcome.
That's so great. Currently, there's no more questions in the chat. Did anyone want to speak up and ask any questions at the moment?
Well, we're giving
Uh,
others. Oh, go ahead, Stuart.
sorry, quick one from me. I firstly apologize. The camera is not working, as luck would have it. So probably better for you. You won't see my face. But a quick question is just around. So I've got a background in UX, UI, graphic design, heavily UX design at the moment, and what I'm trying to figure out is if this probably requires a bit more of a discussion, so I will reach out on email as well. But if there's any kind of companies that I can start looking at to may need my specific skill set within the environmental sector.
Well,
Does
that's
that
it.
make sense?
That's a great question. I mean, absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of organizations out there that are focused on knowledge mobilization and network building, which could definitely benefit from having that sort of expertise, because they're going to be reaching out to a very broad audience in order to be able to achieve those goals. It may not be as interesting necessarily to like small environmental consulting firms, for example. They're very technical and they're dealing with, business to business type of communications. So I'm not sure if that's a space, but yeah, I think there are certainly opportunities out there for individuals in that space. I know that we've got environmental workers in our forecast in that particular type of role. So there must be jobs out there.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
I was going to ask, like even for myself, when I'm looking at Eco Canada and that sort of thing, it's such a broad scope. So when you think about like, if there's an individual who's, you know, just looking to maybe get started and they want to do something in the environment, you know, they care about the environment, but they don't actually know what specifically they're interested in, what advice would you give to folks for just getting started?
Well, yeah, I think a couple of things would come to mind. One is that, you know, in this case, you follow your passion. If you love animals, then maybe look at what sort of opportunities there are in wildlife conservation organizations. If you are concerned about climate change, there are a lot of different organizations out there that are advancing climate change adaptation and mitigation initiatives that you can just reach out to. Some of these are not for profits, and not for profits are often happy to have help from any corner. So, you know, they might be able to say, hey, you know, we may not have a paid position for you right now, but let's connect and see if there's some work that you could do with us, you know, on a volunteer basis. And then when we do have some funds, maybe that's a possibility to hire you as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. Um, just as you were talking, there is a question that has come up in the chat as well. Could I ask about any research opportunities specifically centered around the intersection of disability and sustainability? For example, looking at alternatives for single-use plastics in the case of medically necessary equipment.
Well, I'll be honest, I'm not a expert in that sort of deep dive field, but I have an inkling that there is some researcher somewhere in Canada who's working on that as an area of study. It could be easy enough for us to do a quick search of research institutions and find out what sorts of research people are doing in that space. And again, you know, this is something maybe if it's not being done, making a suggestion to some of these researching students who are out there, making this as a kind of a problem that they're aware of could get that research going. So, you know, connect with me and we'll see what we can do.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I had a question kind of building on what Jamie was saying about getting started. One of the things that you mentioned was to volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
How do I know where to go, who to ask, what to do, what's even possible? I know your website, Jamie was mentioning, you know, having the information about different roles and things. What would be your advice for someone who says, you know what, I'd like to check it out. I'd like to do some volunteer work. Where should I start?
Well, I think one area where I would go if I were interested in volunteering is a website called Charity Village. They have a long list of not-for-profit organizations based on the different types of interests of those organizations. And literally, there's going to be a huge long list of organizations that you can link to. You can check out their website. You can find out more about what type of work they're doing, see if that's something that you're interested in, see if it's in your area or whether you can do that remotely. So it's a little bit of kind of footwork, a little bit of research, but there are resources available that we can connect you to so that you can kind of do that search.
That's wonderful. Thank you. My other question around the 0 or the 1, 2, 3 steps was around the developing of the essential skills. I think that's amazing that you already had a slide saying, here's where you can start. Here are some courses. A couple questions are, what does it cost? And number 2 is, what supports are available while taking those? And how do I choose which one to do?
Right. Yes, that's a good question. Lots of good questions. 3 good questions. So I think the first one is right now those are for sale on our website, $295 per course, or you can get the full 4-package bundle for $695. Now, in terms of supports, there are a wide variety of different types of supports that could be applied for. There are like Canada Job Grants and other types of resources. You can chat with Eco Canada. I know we provide discounts to people who become environmental professionals in training, which is a certification. It's very easy to apply for. You just have to have some sort of post-secondary certificate or diploma in order to apply. And then if you get into that program, then you're going to have opportunities for mentorship. We've got a mentorship program through that. We've got discounts on our training. We've got lots of networking opportunities where you can meet other environmental professionals and find out what they're doing. It brings you into a whole ecosystem of people that can help support you and move you forward.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Jenny, do we ever subsidize courses separately from becoming EPTs or EPs? I don't actually know, but
no, that's a good question. We sometimes provide wraparound supports for individuals who are in some of our other programs. Whether that funding is available is really on a project by project basis. So I can't say that necessarily it would apply to everybody, but certainly it's worth chatting with us and finding out what we might be able to do, or if we can't do something, perhaps we can direct you to another organization that could be supportive.
That's wonderful. Thank you. We still have about 9 minutes left for questions and answers. So even if there's one that you're thinking and you're not sure if you want to ask it, I bet you if you ask it, at least 3 other people in this call will be like, oh, that was my question. I see some smiling faces, so I know it's true. I guess while we're waiting for people to warm up and maybe feel a little bit brave, oh, here, we got one here. That's wonderful, thank you. Is it okay to share the career link with family members?
The career link, as in the, yeah.
Wonderful. I think the more the merrier, it sounds like. It's like wanting to get the
Absolutely.
message out there and really move it forward. The question I was going to ask is, why should someone join the environmental sector, and what do you love about it? Like, what's rewarding to each of you?
Well, I'll let Maddie start with that.
sure. I love doing work that makes a difference. I don't think that's just limited to the environmental sector necessarily, but I love nature, and as a person who lives in this world and the environment, like there's so many other things that are wrapped up in it. Like I love the potential for like an intersectional approach for the environment and racism and feminism, and like I just find it really fascinating, and I think there's so much potential to do good in this field in lots of different areas. In whatever way you choose to do, it's such a broad field that regardless of your skill set and talents, there will be something that will align with the type of work that you like to do and the abilities that you have. And then you can feel like you're working towards something good. Yeah, while you're doing it.
Yeah, no, I would definitely echo that. I think all of what Maddie said is very true. I'd also say a couple of other things. One is that environmental workers are very creative, they're innovative, they're engaged, they're very focused on teamwork and collaboration. So it's a really nice people space to be in. And it's also a great way to what's oh, I lost my train of thought. Sorry about that. No, I had something else that I was going to say, but maybe I'll have to think about that and let you guys know.
Yeah, you were talking about how it's great for teamwork, that it's really creative.
Yes, yes, yes. So one of the things I love is meeting all of these exciting people who are coming up with new ideas and have so much energy and so much passion for the work they're doing. It's very motivating. It means, getting up every day and getting to work is exciting. You never know what you're going to come across. Opportunities for lifelong learning are abundant. Um, and really you can take it as far as you want. There are as we've been talking about, there may be areas of research or design work which maybe haven't been explored yet. That doesn't mean that they shouldn't be explored. And so we need people who have got those ideas to bring those ideas to the table so that we can move all of that forward. So it really is a very collaborative space.
And it sounds too like having Eco Canada as a support network as well, and a place to go to ask questions and to connect with people and find other resources. Seems like a very rich environment.
Yes, we find that the people who are really engaged with Eco Canada get a lot out of, like, they provide us with help. They provide us with expertise for some of the projects that we run. They help mentor other professionals. They provide training or facilitate webinars. They do a lot for us, but at the same time, they get a lot back from Eco Canada in the opportunities to learn and to connect and to network and to move their passion forward.
Mhm. That's wonderful. I see in the chat here that, oh, perfect, Maddie, thank you. There was asking to have more of an expansion on your job description. So it's there for you there. Wonderful.
I can answer any other questions, but really at ECO, we're such a small team on the research team as well. We get thrown into a lot of different roles. So we end up covering a lot of things, but we undergo research and put out products to help people get more involved in the environmental sector. Is the TLDR version, I guess. But
I have one other question in my mind, knowing that someone that's in the audience today, but I want to make sure to give space for anyone else here that would like to ask a question. All right, I'm going to ask my question. How does cybersecurity and data security play into Eco Canada?
Honestly, it's an area we haven't really explored. We are, I think we're aware that a lot of the businesses that we are working with are concerned about the data security, the data privacy issues related to the data collection. But honestly, at Eco Canada, we just haven't delved into that. We're kind of developing some AI capability, but cybersecurity is a space where we haven't really been playing yet. That may be an area where we want to explore some opportunities.
That's
that's a
wonderful
good
to know.
question. I think you're asking that because I have the specialization in cybersecurity as part of my background. I'm guessing.
Partially, yes.
Partially, yeah. My answer to that would be, as our resource management and basically like everything gets more digitized, it all becomes at a higher risk, and there's going to be more of a need to manage and mitigate that risk, especially when it's like our resources and electricity and power and things that we need to survive are become more and more dependent on us keeping them secure and free from people who would want to do damage to them, which is a very difficult thing. Eco Canada is not as much involved in that space, but there's definitely intersections.
Sorry,
yeah, go Heather. Yeah.
Sorry. So would it be fair to figure out how to create a relationship in that space. Like I think Susanna also asked, because I'm here, because I just finished a boot camp. Maddie and I actually just met last week. But how, since it's not really a space Eco Canada has dove into, how would a person go about like starting that conversation with them to maybe bring them into the cybersecurity scope and have an understanding, or show them, or just bring it to them, I guess. I don't know if I'm saying this well, but
if I could try to say, how can you connect with Eco Canada to start a discussion? I think that this is
Perfect.
like a perfect springboard to go there.
Yeah.
I just want to be cognizant of time. We are at 3 o'clock, and want to say a huge thank you to both Geni and Maddie for being here today, for your thoughtful presentation, the insights. I feel that this is going to probably be the first of many discussions as well. And Mentorability really is enjoying and looking forward to developing the relationship with Eco Canada more, and seeing how we can support the work that you do.